And it's time to pull up a ringside seat as we get ready for Sunday's wrestling show, the best, the one and only. It's The Sit Down with your host, Keith the Don Tommaso, your co-host, wrestling superstar, the Night Shadow. Of course, our very special guest, the one and only Buff the Stuff Bagwell. Let's get this show started.
Hey, Buff, how you doing tonight?
Hey, guys, doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And all you listening out there, this is I'm here with the guest, the one and only Buff the Stuff Bagwell. You know him as the Fabulous Fabian, the handsome stranger, Marcus Bagwell, but he is the stuff. He is Buff Bagwell. So, Buff, I know in the professional wrestling, you get the first question asked to you, and that is, how did you get your start in the professional wrestling? I know when you were in high school, you were more into like football and baseball. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was football, baseball, mainly, and, wrestling, we just were, Southern family and loved the, watching wrestling on TV, but that was about it, but then Missy Hyatt moved in next door to me, and, she, actually was the first person ever spoke, professional wrestling that way. And so we continued. She actually was my neighbor while she was married to Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert.
And that's interesting because Missy Hyatt is usually one of our co-hosts on the Sit Down. She was here last weekend when J.J. Dillon was the guest, and she couldn't make it this weekend. So it's a lot in common. Now,
yeah, it really is. It's crazy, man. I mean, I've seen a lot. I pulled a gun about 2 weeks on Eddie Gilbert. I pulled a gun on him. Right before, and then 2 weeks later, I was wrestling him as the handsome stranger. That's a true story, bro, and she'll tell you it is, over a barbecue grill.
So me and Missy were actually talking about you during the week, and she had nothing but great things to say about you. And actually, I think if I can quote it, she said that you and her were actually really, really good friends outside the sport and still remain best friends outside.
Relationship, thank God, that's never been tainted. She never said something bad about me. I never said anything bad about her. She called me in the middle of it a couple of times, and I always returned her calls, and always spoke highly of Missy Hyatt. She is the reason, she's the sole reason why I got into professional wrestling. Anything above that would be God, so literally that's the reason. So, and then just last week, of all things, I wrestled the guy that trained me 18 years ago.
Wow.
That's deep, brother.
And who was that?
And as he took me over at a snapmare, he said, "I'm proud of you, man." It excited him to see me still in shape, still able to do this, knowing I could do it on a mainstream level still, and see the kid that he trains be able to do that still. It made him feel good so much when he snapmared. He said, "God, kid, you look great. I'm so proud of you."
You started wrestling in Georgia as the Fabulous Fabian.
Yeah, this guy created that name. His name was Steve the Brawler Lawler, and he kind of looked like Jerry Lawler a little bit, and so he spun off of it, and was a great worker, and didn't screw me. Took my money, $1,500, but really showed me what was up. He beat me up a little bit at first, but that's kind of how it was back in the late 80s. And but I really learned a lot all the way to, I enjoyed working him 2 weeks ago in Carrollton, Georgia.
And at that time, you were working with a lot of the up-and-comers like Harlem Heat, Sean Weltman, who was X-Pac, the Patriot, who became the tag team partner and one half of the tag team champions. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. Do you guys remember a name, Jack Victory?
What was that name?
Jacko Victory.
Familiar but faintly.
No, Jack Victory.
I remember the name, but I don't remember the face. I can't put it.
Jack Victory was a big blonde-haired dude that wrestled for the ECW for a while, and then he was actually a tag team years ago during my Fabian days at Joe Pedicino's group called North Georgia Wrestling. That's when I was Fabian.
Yeah, I remember him. He was a big dude.
Big old gigantic dude, and had a big Australian partner, and they were WCW. And right during my very start, they were a tag team.
Now, but to go back to a few steps now, what got you into WCW? Like, what was your calling into the WCW World Championship Wrestling?
Well, once Missy got me talking about trying to make it, I dove in and ran independent thing, and stayed in shape and all that stuff. Paid my dues, set the ring up on Mondays, tore it down on Wednesdays, all that stuff, and it was I dove in head first, and I didn't have any kids, and I was just of course broke and trying to make it. So when you're like that, and you got time, nothing but to succeed. You succeed. And so I wanted to be a pro wrestler, and by God, I became a pro wrestler. But it took about a year and a half, and it was a stepping stone all the way up through it. But at the very end, I think Missy was the one that got me the final interview with Dusty. But Dusty Rhodes actually hired me.
Yeah, man, and I can relate to you when you say about how you have to pay your dues and you have to stick with your passion in professional wrestling. And I'm sure Night Shadow can say the same, because once it's brought and once it's you have to go and get it.
I was going to ask Buff, what do you think about these guys who now are getting into WWE, like The Miz and stuff, and not really paying their dues?
I really don't get it at all, bro. There's nobody out there in the wrestling world right now that could give me a logical answer of why Buff Bagwell is not on World Wrestling Entertainment or why he's on Total Nonstop Action. There's no possible reason why. I'm the most used independent guy. I'm 38. I still look good. I'm still in shape. I'm off pain pills. I'm speaking and can prove it with a P test. I'm writing an autobiography. It's already written. It's called Gladiators Don't Cry, is one of the names they're possibly, flirting with. Another one is Gone But Not Forgotten. Several things in the works that two major companies could jump aboard right now and make Buff the next superstar of WWE or TNA, and everybody out there in the internet world, the real world, on your double wide, single wide, or your $500,000 house that can't say that ain't true. And if they can, put it in ink and let's argue about it.
Well, Buff, I'm going to side with you on that. I see you with, I grew up, before I got into the sport, watching you on television as a handsome stranger, and I see you have awesome talent, and I see wrestlers out there in the WWE, TNA that really don't know the logics of wrestling and don't have the sport behind them.
But to answer Night Shadow's, sorry not to cut you off, Keith. I'm sorry. Don't lose train of thought. I do, and I'm sorry. But to answer Keith's question, yes, I do look, Keith. And Keith and Night Shadow. I look and try to find something cool. I flip over, man. I don't root against it. I root for it. I try to have these kids cut a good interview or hip toss. But you know what, bro? It ain't there. I don't see what I turned to see. I don't see the excellent tag match. I don't see the perfect timing on the double cross body. I don't see the guy that got the great body I want to look at. I don't see that, so I don't watch. And that's why, until they can relate back to WCW days when guys had matches like that, when those tag matches at WCW were solid, man, Scott Steiner and Buff Bagwell versus Goldberg and Rick Steiner. Are you kidding me? That's money. You ain't seen a match like that in 5, 6, 7, 10 years. And that's why I stay busy. It's amazing that they don't just redo it. Just bring it back one more time. Give Goldberg his $5 million. Give Hogan his 10. Let's recreate the NWO. Let's join and just do it one more time. And quit flirting with bringing the little young guys in. Let's really.
Exactly. I'm all for that.
I'm for that altogether. I just don't see the sport in the wrestling business nowadays. And I have Jimmy Valiant, who actually is an inspiration to me and also a mentor, and he's my commissioner in Great Southern Championship Wrestling. He taught me how it was to be old school, and that's why I actually believe in his old school. And I don't see that grudge match, and I don't see that chemistry in the sport today like it was yesterday.
It really isn't there, man. I mean, I really watch, and every once in a while, I dare dive back into a DVD somebody gives me or something, and I'll watch, and I'm telling you, bro, I'm not trying to be cocky. I'm not trying to be cool. It's just the truth. WCW Nitro show was hard to beat, buddy, and Buff Bagwell was in it, and it was everybody that was really good was on that show, and it was just a damn good show. And the Raw,
what made it turn over like that was a big part for the NWO. And you were a member of the greatest elite group of athletes ever assembled in the wrestling industry.
Well, it was the greatest elite besides the Horsemen, but I think the NWO really did pick up the ratings, and Now Generation picked up the ratings and carried the ball, and Buff, you were a part of that.
Wow, Keith, I like it. You said, well, except for the Horsemen. Ooh, we ruffled
that wasn't
feathers.
Me. That was Keith. That was Keith, Buff. That was
I know. We ruffled some feathers.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is we're looking at a similar stable, but NWO was more or less an aggression. Horsemen is more or less they lived and styled and so forth. And they're more like the old school, but the NWO really picked up the ratings bar. I mean, you picked up.
Y'all remember the Skilver, the old Four Horsemen?
Yes.
Oh, that was a classic, bro.
There was nothing like the NWO.
It really wasn't, bro. I'll watch a tape back, and it's actually shocking to me to realize that it was 10 years ago. And I'm watching this going, Judy, and Judy will start crying. My wife will cry. Once I take her back here mentally, she'll cry. She'll go, what happened? I don't understand. I'm going, I don't know. And why they can't redo it, repackage it, and do it again, it's also silly why they can't. They can. And one of the steps, whether you like me or don't, is Buff Bagwell. I think I would work.
How did they pick you to get in the NWO after it first started with Nash, Hogan, and Hall? Remember when all the people came out to the ring and it was you and it was what was his name, Ray Traylor, Big Boss Man, and all you guys intervened and came and helped Hogan?
How that all came down was we were in Salisbury, Maryland, and Eric Bischoff didn't like me. Eric Bischoff we were out at a club a week before partying. See, Eric was a boss that partied with us and stuff. He was really cool, but he was a boss. He also would cuss you out. So we were all out partying at a biker's bar, and we were all in there. He didn't like me for some reason, but all the other guys liked me. Bischoff quite didn't, so he was kind of picking on me. Instead, and he goes, hey, Bagwell. He goes, hey, Marcus Bagwell. And I went, oh, pretty good, man. And everybody busted out laughing, and once everybody quit laughing, I said, wow, Marcus Bagwell. I said, I must be the pussy-gettingest faggot I've ever seen in my life.
And back in, to go back on your title runs, you began tagging with Too Cold Scorpio, and you won your first tag team belts with him. How was he as a partner?
I thought fantastic. Everybody was a stepping stone to me trying to find out who I was. And that's what everybody tries to do on camera, whether you're trying to relate to the crowd, man. And, and each tag team partner like Scorpio was building that Buff Bagwell character.
When you went on to team up with the Patriot, who you won your second tag team belt with, and actually you held two occasions you held belts with the Patriot. And then that's when you went with Scotty Riggs to become the American Males.
Yeah, and the American Males was a lot more, toward the Buff character I was trying to find too. So all of it the whole time was just, you're just trying anything you can to kind of stay with the times, stay with what's cool. and just listen to the crowd and listen to the look, and then finally you find it, and mine was, fortunately, was Buff Bagwell.
And then that came into 1996 when you became part of the NWO, and that's when history was made.
Yeah, that night they called him out. What he did was he gave everybody 30 days to either join the NWO or you were fired. That was the storyline. And me and Scotty Riggs, we came out of the back. Me and Scotty Riggs came out of the back, and I turned on him with I wanted to use Ravishing Rick Rude's move, the neck breaker. And Scotty Riggs is the one that actually figured out the blockbuster move on me. But that was the night I actually joined, was Salisbury, Maryland, and Eric Bischoff and me, became very close friends. But at first he didn't like me, and then he finally said, I guess give the kid a chance. So luck, timing, and things like that is what puts you in those kind of places, man.
Buff, how did you get along with Scott Norton?
Me and Scott Norton got along great. His wife is a firecracker, bro. And I love her to death, but she's wide open, and so am I. So he was always having to kind of keep us apart, but me and Scott Norton were always super-duper tight and real good friends, and to this day I speak very highly of him, and I think he does of me, too.
Buff, in 1998, WCW Thunder is when that infamous, you almost got paralyzed in the ring, where there was Rick Steiner.
Yeah, that was, back in, I actually bought my lot for my first house that day. I paid for a $100,000 golf lot. I drive to Columbia, South Carolina, and I get paralyzed in the ring with Rick Steiner.
And how did that go, like, through the recovery and so forth?
And 10 months later, I was in that match I said a minute ago. Me and Scott Steiner versus Goldberg and Rick.
That happened during, it was doing a bulldog move, and did you fall during that move? That's what damaged it all, and that's where it went wrong? Like, what was that?
Say that again, bro.
Like, when you were teaming with Rick Steiner during that match, you fell during a bulldog move, is that correct? And that's what caused the whole...
See, I was actually, that match that he bulldogged me in, it was actually me and Scott Norton versus Rick Steiner and Lex Luger. Okay. And it was in Columbia, South Carolina, and we were just doing the finish of the match, and the finish of the match was... a bulldog, and I just landed wrong and was paralyzed for about 10 minutes.
And that when you came back into the wrestling after your recovery, that's when you went back and forth from face to heel, and that's when you went back into the NWO.
Exactly, yes. I came back and, stayed at home. I was back on TV in 3 months, and I came back as Scotty's manager. So I was able to keep my face on TV while my neck was healing. During that, we would do skits, the wheelchair skits, and all the funny stuff me and Scotty used to do.
And, now when Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff took the reins almost with the WCW, how did the company differ at that time period?
Really, to make it really the most understandable for everybody was he had his favorite players, and Eric had his favorite players. And I was not Russo's favorite players. Jeff Jarrett and the Mexican guys and your Big Vitos, kind of your middle-of-the-card guys, was to me, was your guys. And Jeff Jarrett leading the pack of the middle guys. But, my group was like Goldberg and Lex Luger and Steiner and Flair and Bagwell and I don't know, for some reason Russo just never liked me. He just never was. I never was in his clique, and most of my clique was not in his clique. So it was very strange, very different.
Buff, was there anyone that you didn't get along with and when you wrestled them?
Pretty much everybody, got along, man. We're like a big family. But me and the Cat one time, me and Ernest Miller got in a fist fight at the Road Wild pay-per-view. Probably 99 Road Wild pay-per-view. and Eric made us go out and fake wrestle 15 minutes after having a real fist fight. We got to go out and fake wrestle. That's pretty deep. So that got ugly over a finish.
And like during the last declining days of the WCW, you were wrestling and fighting against the feud between Team Chronic. You were tag team champs, feuding with them. Now, you at that time, was there an incident that you were actually arrested for an assault on a WCW crew member backstage at that time?
Yeah, I got Lex. Long story short, I hit a guy over a subject that I think I'm right about. One open hand slap. The guy tries to sue WCW for racial this, racial that. He was a black guy. And when WCW went out of business, the lawyer come after me, somehow gets a lien on my $1 million house, and I got to pay the guy $50,000 for one slap.
Oh, wow.
That's ridiculous.
It really is, dude. And but I lost it for real. I can prove it. I got a copy somewhere, I promise.
And then there was there was also some kind of co-ed undressing scandal that happened in your time in WCW. Did you want to elaborate on any of that? Or?
Oh, absolutely. It was a time of my life, dude. We had a blast. We were in South Padre Island partying with a bunch of kids. Everybody's been drunk all day. We were somewhere else the night before drunk and partying. We get down to spring break. You're Buff Bagwell 1998-99, or 2000 even. You're Buff Bagwell. You're on spring break in South Padre Island. And they had a little bikini contest thing going on, and everybody was just following the rules and doing the right thing. And they kept asking me to get involved, and I said, no, I'm not getting involved because I'm not going to do it that way. Nobody's having fun. And they said, no, they said, no, please, and kept asking me. So finally, I get up there and I just cut loose like Buff Bagwell would. Hey, who wants to see this? And I jerked the first girl's panties right to her ankles. And the cops are there laughing, WCW crew's laughing, bosses are laughing, everybody's happy, but Time Warner didn't think it was funny.
They ended up suspending you, didn't they, for that?
Yeah, so I was all over the magazines. And there were no police charges filed, no complaints, no nothing, but still, it just looked bad for one of, Turner's